Good morning, all. This is the continuation of your first class on your open course Physics in Daily Life. Unit is motion. So, today we learn about inertia, which is a very familiar topic you must be knowing from your lower classes. So, inertia is a resistance of any physical object to any change in its position, including its state of rest or state of motion, including its speed, direction, etc. In simple words, I can define inertia is that state of an object to remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. That is, when an external force acts on the body, it will change its state of rest or its state of motion. Till then, it will remain in its state of rest or in its state of motion. Okay, so inertia is that state of an object to remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. Okay, now see two simple examples. Suppose that you are traveling in a bus and the driver applied a sudden brake. You will have a tendency to fall forward. Then you switch off ceiling fan and you can notice that even after you switch it off, it will continue to spin for some time. All these are examples showing the presence or the significance of inertia. Now, mass is a measure of inertia. This means that objects with a heavier mass possess more inertia than objects with a lesser mass. For example, large uh, trucks drivers carrying heavy load, they actually move downhill very slowly. Why? Because they are afraid of inertia, because they are very sure that they won't be able to stop the vehicle in a short distance due to inertia. So heavy truck drivers carrying heavy load actually move very slowly, but small vehicles such as bikes, cars can travel downhill much faster. So this actually signifies this point, that is, objects with a heavier mass possess more inertia than objects with a lesser mass. Now next is the difference between mass and weight. In physics, mass is not the same as weight. Mass is actually, see the first definition, it is a property of a physical body, its resistance to acceleration or a change in its state of motion when a net force is applied on it. Its unit is kilogram. So I think it's better you study this particular definition, that is this one. Mass of an object is a measure of the amount of matter it contains, while weight is a measure of the force exerted on the object by gravity. So that's very important. Mass is nothing but measure of amount of matter it contains, whereas weight is a measure of force exerted on the object by gravity. Mass of object will be same everywhere, but its weight will be changing. For example, an object on moon would weigh less than it does on earth because of lower gravity, but it will have the same mass. Let us suppose that you have an object, that object will have the same mass when measured from both moon and earth, but its weight will be less in the moon when compared with its weight in earth. Why? Because in moon the acceleration due to gravity is less compared to that of earth. So this is because weight is a force while mass is a property that determines the strength of this force. Okay, weight actually implies force, whereas mass actually gives or it determines the strength of the force. So these two definitions are very important, so go through it. Then next is the difference between apparent weight and weightlessness. Any physical object will experience an apparent weight whenever the force of gravity acting on the object is not balanced by an equal and opposite force. So when will an object experience apparent weight? The condition is that when the force of gravity acting on that particular object, if it is not balanced by an equal and opposite force, then that object will experience an apparent weight. Actually, you will experience those apparent weight in joy rides in amusement parks. Okay. Now consider the case you travel upwards in a lift. Suppose that you are traveling in a lift upwards, then you will experience upward acceleration A, and you feel more weight, which will be why you experience more weight, because it will be mg plus ma, where g is acceleration due to gravity, a is the upward acceleration. Now consider the case when you are traveling downwards in the same lift, then you will experience downward acceleration a and you will feel less weight, because that will be mg minus ma. So apparent weight decreases with increasing downward acceleration until A becomes equal to G. This is a case of free fall. So what is a free fall? An object is said to be in free fall when the acceleration due to gravity, that is G, acting on it becomes equal to the acceleration of the falling object. So when an object is in the free fall case, it will experience no weight, that is it will experience zero weight. That is called weightlessness. So an object in free fall experience weightlessness, that is it will experience zero weight. Why? If the acceleration of the object becomes equal to acceleration due to gravity acting on the object, and when A becomes equal to G, you say that the object is in the state of free fall and it will experience zero weight, that is called weightlessness. Next term is pseudo weightlessness. Consider that objects immersed in a fluid will experience apparent weight due to buoyant force. Okay, objects will float on water. This is because for floating purpose, which force actually supports it? It is the buoyant force. The apparent weight of a floating object is 0. Now, a floating or immersed object is not accelerating or decelerating, and hence there is no force. So consider an object floating on the surface of water. That object is not in a state of acceleration and it is not in a state of deceleration. So there is no force is acting. However, some force should support it, and that force is buoyant force, and this buoyant force is diffused and dispersed over the entire surface of the body, and as a result the body will be floating and that body will be in a state of pseudo weightlessness. Okay, actually in all objects experience some buoyancy in air also. So even in air the normal weight is slightly less than actual weight. Okay, but most objects are denser than air, and so that difference we can neglect it. An object that is lighter than air, such as helium balloon, has a negative apparent weight. So here just study what is weightlessness. Now Newton's laws of motion, which is very important, you have already studied. The first one is that every body continues in its state of rest or of uniform motion in straight line unless compelled by external force. That is, every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion unless it is acted upon by an external force. That means Newton's first law introduces the concept of inertia, which we have already studied today. Second one is the law is that the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force applied, and this change in momentum takes place in the direction of applied force. In other words, acceleration of an object is directly proportional to net force acting on it and inversely proportional to its mass. It's very clear. So the second law of motion gives the concept of momentum. You know, momentum is actually the product of mass into velocity, and we know that a mathematical expression for force, that is force is mass into acceleration. So from here acceleration A is equal to force by mass. So second law actually gives a mathematical expression for force, and it states that acceleration is directly proportional to the force applied and inversely proportional to mass. Okay, now third law, it's very clear to you, right? For every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So hence all forces in universe occur in equal but oppositely directed pairs. There are no isolated forces. So just study this sentence: for every action in nature there is an equal and opposite reaction. So the first one introduces the concept of inertia. Second one gives a mathematical expression for force and introduces the concept of momentum, and third one equal and opposite reaction forces. So these are the three Newton's laws of motion. Study it. Then we can go to the applications of each of these laws. First one, the application of first law. Okay, now first law, that is says about the importance of wearing seat belt while traveling in a car, is a consequence of first law. Suppose that you are traveling in a car without wearing seat belt and the driver applied a sudden brake, then what will happen to you? If you are not wearing seat belt, you will have a tendency to move forward with the same velocity and hit dangerously. This will cause you injuries. So a seat belt will reduce injuries. If you are wearing a seat belt, this will not happen and you will be safe from injuries. So that particular concept is a consequence of first law. Then about second law application, that is mainly observed in traffic signal. That is when the signal turn green, that is you are about to go. A 150cc 15 bhp 150 kilo bike, a bike can accelerate much faster than a car. Why? Because mass of bike is much less than car, that is state of inertia of bike is less, so it can easily take up and move forward. So that's a application of second law. Then the application of third law, rowing a country boat, or just rowing a boat is a good example of the law. That is, while rowing a boat, what you are doing, you push the water backwards. So when you push the water backwards, what will the water do? It will exert equal and opposite force on it, on the boat. So as a result of these two equal and opposite forces, the boat as well as you will move together in the forward direction. So that it is this third law that keeps you rowing in the boat. Then it is always recommended to wear helmet while traveling on a two-wheeler. This also because of third law. Why? Because when if you happen to fall down from a two-wheeler and you're not having a helmet, the highest position in your body, what is it? It's your head. Okay, it will hit the ground with high velocity. And so when you hit the ground with high velocity, what will the ground do? It will exert an equal and opposite force on your head, and this will cause you injury. So if you are having a helmet, that helmet will absorb this reaction force and you will be safe, that is your head will be protected. So these are the three laws and its consequences, or I mean the applications. So in this session I'll be teaching only up to this much. So one study what is inertia, difference between mass and weight, what is apparent weight, what is weightlessness, what is pseudo weightlessness, then the most important thing, Newton's third law of motion and its applications. Okay, now if you want to know more about this, or that means if you want to understand more examples and all, you can go through the full textbook of this particular unit, motion, which I have already been uploaded in your site. So go through it for vast reading. So you from the text you will be able to see more and more examples. Here I have pointed out only the important things. So for more reference, please go through the full text on motion that I have uploaded. Okay, so today's session is over. I think this is enough. Okay, thank you.